Dabo Swinney versus Brian Kelly. In LSU's ugly win over Clemson this past weekend, it was an ugly win, but Garrett Nussmeier played well, as I talked about, which is why he's in my Heisman top 5 as of right now. On the heels of that, Dabo Swinney decided to speak to the media to start this week and decided to claim that it was just an ugly game and the worst team losing, but then to think either team deserves credit for how they played. Brian Kelly responded with a pretty good shot. I'm going to play both clips here. This is Dabo Swinney first talking about the game and Brian Kelly's response afterward. Here is a clip from both of them right now.
It's like getting the final exam day one of class. They made a 65, we made a 58. Neither one of us were great.
We dominated him in the second half. So he's either a really good grader for, giving himself a 58, or he's a really hard grader on us, or he didn't see the second half, which that might be the case. He might not have wanted to see the second half. So, again, look, this is all like, past.
It's like getting the final.
Brian Kelly and his still awkward self. He's not as comfortable on the PR front as Dabo Swinney is. But at the same time, look, both of them are a little over-exaggerating here. And here's why. Let's start with Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly's right, by the way, in that LSU did dominate the second half. But it was a 17-10 game. So, if it's a 17-10 game, they relatively had yes, Clemson gained LSU gained almost 100 yards more while had one more turnover. At the same time, though, in a 17-10 game, the grading scale is going to be somewhat close. So to suggest they should be higher while Clemson's grade should be lower, well, how much of a difference? You won by 1 touchdown. At the same time, though, Brian Kelly has more of a point because, yes, it was an ugly game. Hey, newsflash, top 10 games between two elite teams are oftentimes ugly. They are ugly. They are tough. That's what's beautiful about football. These are the type of games where a lot of times it is just two sides, slugging it out, fighting their guts out on the line of scrimmage, leaving it all out on the field, mistakes happening everywhere because you're trying so hard to win the game. And then one team comes out on top in a hideous win. And in this case, a 17-10 win, particularly when it's the first game of the season. So to sit up there and Dabo Swinney to be like, well, it wasn't a pretty win, and I like to win pretty football games, and this was an ugly win, so therefore they shouldn't get credit. Come on. That was such a sore loser statement by Dabo Swinney. It was absolutely pathetic, okay? So I'm going to ask you guys this. Dabo Swinney saying both teams played bad in LSU's win over Clemson is sore loser stuff accurate? You guys go ahead and vote on that. Dabo Swinney saying both teams played bad and LSU's win over Clemson is sore loser stuff or accurate. I'm probably I'm just missing something okay, LSU beat a top 5 team on the road. Who cares how you beat them? Who cares if you beat them 3-2 or 17-10 or 45-35? So what? You beat a top 5 team on the road. Who cares? Let's take this to many of the Tennessee fans on here. Did you really care about how Tennessee beat Miami in 2003 when they won 10-6 and Miami had 4 turnovers and Brock Berlin threw an interception and Sean Taylor fumbled a punt? Did you really care when Tennessee beat Florida 20-17 in overtime in 98 that Florida had 5 turnovers and that made the difference? No, you didn't. You won the game. These type of games, all of a sudden, they come down to just who can make certain plays at the end. They look more like NFL games. And NFL games are ugly like this all the time because there's so much parity. And Dabo Swinney's response was flat out pathetic. What the H? brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. Looking for affordable game day jewelry? They want to be your jeweler, a Tennessee tradition. RickTerryJewelry.com.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Dabo Swinney's honestly making himself look worse, because if Clemson looked bad like that and LSU also looked bad, well, then Clemson should have at least gotten the leg up by being able to win the game at home. And they didn't. And look, part of this is, I think Dabo Swinney's right about something, which is, and this is what I said for a while, Clemson is seriously overrated. Cade Klubnik, and I pointed this out yesterday in my recap, it's not talked about enough how overrated he is. Cade Klubnik last year scored 3 points against Georgia to open the season. Then after that, he quietly just started going on a roll, dropping 66 in Appalachian State, 59 on NC State, 40 on Stanford, 29 on Florida State, 49 on Wake Forest, 48 on Virginia, only 21 in a loss to Louisville, but then 24 at Virginia Tech, 24 at Pittsburgh, and 51 at the Citadel. However, I want to point this out. We're really overrating what Cade Klubnik did. It was because of all those offensive onslaughts he had in September and October. Once November came, Cade Klubnik looked very normal, only leading Clemson to 21 points against Louisville. Wow, 24 points back-to-back weeks against Virginia Tech and Pittsburgh. Oh my gosh, 51 against the Citadel. Oh my gosh, the Citadel. I am just so impressed. Then they go and play South Carolina at home. They lose 17-14. When he plays a decent team, every time he's played a decent team, he's been bad. Every time. Now, his coming out party was that SMU game on December the 7th in the ACC title where Clemson won 34-31. But SMU was wildly overrated. Then they go and play Texas. And yes, they scored 24 points, but they were down 31-10 in the third quarter, and Texas called off the dogs. And every game against a meaningful opponent last year, Cade Klubnik was vastly mediocre. Vastly, and many times below average. And he was being massively overrated entering this year. So I will give Dabo this. I think a lot of what happened on Saturday is about Cade Klubnik being extremely overrated. So with that in mind, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I think more than anything, we should be talking about the fact that Dabo Swinney may have a point, only in the sense that his quarterback is terrible and massively overrated, and we shouldn't be touting him anyway. I told you guys before last week that my top pick, my easiest pick, was the under in the LSU Clemson game, because this over-under was set at 57.5, and Cade Klubnik was being massively overhyped. Massively. And boy, was I proven right on that. So that was when he's seeing both teams play bad, and LSU's win over Clemson is, I'm with the polls, 70% sore loser stuff, 30% accurate. He's right. 70% of it is just sore loser stuff. It's just pathetic sore loser stuff. Dabo Swinney I defend a lot of what he does, by the way, more than most. When Dabo Swinney lashes out at fans for questions about what he's doing, I side with him lashing out at those fans. You know, people want to put him on the hot seat. Dabo Swinney is bigger than Clemson at this point. He's done for Clemson almost what Bobby Bowden has done for Florida State. I get it. Clemson's won a national title. Danny Ford won one in 1981, 82 or something like that. But at the same time, Dabo had Clemson playing way above what it's capable of. Florida, while Bobby Bowden did build Florida State, the Florida schools, for those who know the history of sports, the Florida schools were naturally going to be elite by the 1980s. That was the first time period in which, just for the history of Florida real quick, the state had an explosion in population post-World War II, 1940s, 1950s, 1960s. Just a massive explosion because of the invention of air conditioning and the commonality of it being in homes by that point. The 1980s were the first time when all the children of those people who moved to Florida, by the 1980s, they were all graduating high school. There was an explosion in population at that point. Also, mass immigration of people from Cuba to go into Florida at that point helped the population explode because of Fidel Castro taking over in Cuba. All of those things happening led to Florida having a ton of prospects to choose from by the early 1980s. So much so that Florida, Miami, and Florida State were all going to be elite. Anybody could have won championships at those schools by that point if they just recruited well. What Dabo did at Clemson was a lot more impressive. And so he has a right to lash out at fans who question what he's doing. At the same time, this was a stupid take.